There is a silence that changes everything. Not the silence after an argument. Not the silence meant to punish. But the silence that comes when a man decides, he is done reaching. At first, she doesn't take it seriously. She thinks you're cooling off. She assumes you'll text when the emotions settle. But days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into a pattern. And suddenly, something feels different. You're not angry. You're not reacting. You're not chasing. You're gone. And that is the moment it begins to sink in. Not when you stopped calling. But when she realizes you're not coming back. This is the story of what truly happens in that silence. What shifts inside her. And more importantly, what transforms inside you. Welcome to the channel, Stoic Love Wisdom. This is where we will learn, explore, and share valuable lessons about love. In today's video, I will reveal to you the moment she realized, you'll never contact her again. A new perspective, helping you better understand the factors that determine a happy and sustainable relationship. Let's explore with me the secrets to building a strong and meaningful love. Before we start, find a quiet place, put on your headphones and relax. Let all your worries melt away, and let the messages in this video help you calm down and feel the most complete. Are you ready? Let's start now. Part 1, The Silence That Changes Everything. There is a moment in every man's life when he finally understands that love is not lost in arguments, not destroyed in betrayal, and not even ended in heartbreak. It ends in silence. Not the dramatic silence after a fight. Not the passive-aggressive silence meant to punish. But the kind of silence that comes from a decision. The kind that says, I am done. I'm not speaking to you as a boy who once begged for replies. I'm speaking as a man who has walked away more than once. And learned what happens after. Let me tell you something most men never realize. A woman does not feel your absence immediately. At first, she feels relief. When you stop calling. When you stop texting. When you stop reacting to her stories. When you stop checking if she's okay. She breathes. Because deep down, when a woman begins to pull away, she already expects you to chase. She expects your ego to panic. She expects your pride to crack. She expects you to come back. And when you don't, that's when the clock starts ticking. The first stage, she thinks it's temporary. The first few days are easy for her. She assumes. He's just upset. He needs space. He'll text when he cools down. She scrolls through her phone casually. She posts something subtle. Maybe a quote. Maybe a picture that she knows you would have liked. She is not missing you yet. She is testing the silence. A woman's instinct is not to chase immediately. It's to observe. And here is where most men fail. They cannot tolerate uncertainty. So they break first. They send the, hey. The, just checking in. The, I know we said we needed space but. And in that moment, the dynamic resets. She regains emotional control. You lose leverage. Not because love is a game. But because emotional self-control is power. The Stoics understood this long before dating advice existed. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And most men suffer in imagination. You imagine her moving on. You imagine her forgetting you. You imagine her with someone else. So you break your own discipline to ease your anxiety. But discipline is not about controlling her. It's about mastering yourself. And when you truly decide you will never reach out again, not as a tactic, not as manipulation, but as closure, something shifts inside you. You stop waiting. And she starts wondering. The difference between silence and withdrawal. Let me be clear. Silent treatment is manipulation. True silence is acceptance. There is no anger in it. No hidden hope. No countdown. Just clarity. You realize. If she wanted to be here, she would be. If she valued you, she would show it. If she chose distance, you will respect it, permanently. This is where Stoic love separates from emotional dependence. Stoic love says, I care for you deeply. But I will not abandon myself to keep you. And when a man reaches that point, he becomes dangerous in the best way possible. Because now he is no longer reacting. He is choosing. When she notices the pattern break. Around week 2 or 3, sometimes sooner, sometimes later, something changes. She checks your social media. Nothing. She notices you haven't viewed her stories. She scrolls through old messages. You haven't deleted them. But you haven't added to them. Your absence becomes consistent. Consistency is what makes it real. Anyone can go silent for a few days. But when silence becomes routine, the nervous system reacts. Her mind starts asking questions. Why hasn't he reached out? Is he talking to someone else? Did he really move on? Does he not care? Understand this carefully. Women are deeply intuitive, but they are also deeply attuned to emotional patterns. If you were once available, and now you are unavailable, the contrast creates tension. Not because she is evil. Not because she is manipulative. But because humans feel most strongly what they can no longer access. Scarcity creates awareness. And real absence creates emotional gravity. The Stoic principle of non-attachment. In Stoicism, attachment is not love. Attachment is dependency. Love is voluntary. If someone stays because they fear losing you, that is insecurity. If someone stays because they see your value, that is choice. When you stop contacting her, you are not trying to trigger her emotions. You are returning to your center. You wake up and focus on your body. You focus on your work. You rebuild routines that don't revolve around her. At first, it hurts. There will be nights when you want to text. Moments when you almost type her name. But you don't. Because you understand something now. Dignity is more attractive than desperation. And self-respect is louder than pleading. You are not silent to win her back. You are silent because you refuse to negotiate your worth. That is what makes the moment powerful. The emotional shift begins. Eventually, and this is the moment most men never see because they give up too early, she begins to feel the void. It's subtle. She might mention your name to a friend. She might check if you're online. She might replay conversations in her head. Not because she suddenly fell in love again. But because uncertainty unsettles the ego. You were once predictable. Now you are not. And unpredictability creates intrigue. But here is the deeper truth. The real power is not in her reaction. The real transformation is in you. Because when you truly accept that you may never speak to her again, something inside you detaches. And that detachment makes you calm. Your messages, if she ever sends one, no longer carry emotional urgency. Your replies become measured. Your energy becomes grounded. And grounded men are rare. The quiet reversal. One day, and you won't expect it, she may send something simple. Hey. How have you been? I was just thinking about you. Most men ruin this moment. They over-explain. They over-express. They release weeks of suppressed emotion in one paragraph. Don't. A stoic man responds, not reacts. Short. Calm. Unbothered. Because whether she returns or not is no longer the point. The point is this. You prove to yourself that you can let go. And that is the moment you stop fearing loss. When you stop fearing loss, you stop being controlled by it. And that's when she realizes something terrifying and attractive. You are capable of walking away permanently. Not out of pride. Not out of revenge. But out of self-respect. The truth most men avoid. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes she will not come back. Sometimes she will move on. Sometimes she will never send that message. And that must be okay. Because the silence was never about manipulating her into returning. It was about freeing yourself from needing her to. The moment she realizes you will never contact her again is powerful. But the moment you realize you don't need to, that is liberation. And liberation is magnetic. Love is not always about brilliant moments, but often about patience, listening and accompanying in every small step. It is those simple things that nurture a lasting bond. That is also the reason why I believe that every experience in love is an opportunity for us to grow and become stronger. If you feel this, please click like as a way to spread positivity to more people. And if this is your first time visiting our channel, click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any lessons. I also look forward to hearing your thoughts. What is the smallest but most meaningful thing you have ever realized in love? Leave a comment below, maybe your answer will become a source of inspiration for others. Now, let's continue our journey to explore deeper perspectives right away. Part 2, When the Silence Becomes Real. There is a difference between a man who is quiet and a man who is gone. At first, she thinks you are quiet. By the second phase, she starts to feel that you might actually be gone. And that realization does not arrive with drama. It arrives at night. It arrives in stillness. It arrives when distraction fades. The ego phase, he'll be back. Let me speak honestly. When a woman begins to detach, she rarely believes you will fully disappear. Not because she underestimates you, but because she has seen patterns before. Most men return. Most men fold. Most men cannot handle the discomfort of uncertainty. She has watched men send paragraphs. She has seen them apologize for things that weren't even their fault. She has experienced men who mistake attachment for devotion. So when you go silent, her ego whispers. He just needs time. This is the protection layer. Human beings protect their pride before they process loss. Stoicism teaches us something powerful here. The ego resists reality. And in the early stages of your silence, she is resisting the possibility that you might actually mean it. The moment routine breaks. The real shift begins when time passes and nothing changes. You do not watch her stories. You do not react to her posts. You do not accidentally like an old photo at 2 a.m. You do not drunk text her. Weeks pass. Consistency creates credibility. And credibility creates tension. Because now the narrative in her mind begins to fracture. Why is he so calm? Why isn't he reacting? Why doesn't he care? Here is the truth most men misunderstand. Silence hurts more when it is dignified. If you disappear with anger, she can label you emotional. If you disappear with insults, she can label you bitter. If you disappear with threats, she can label you immature. But when you disappear peacefully, there is nothing to attack. And that is unsettling. The psychological shift, loss of control. Let's go deeper. Relationships, even unstable ones, operate on emotional predictability. She knew when you would call. She knew how long it took you to reply. She knew that if she pulled back slightly, you would lean in. That predictability gave her subconscious reassurance. Not manipulation, reassurance. Now that pattern is broken. And broken patterns create anxiety. When you remove yourself completely, she loses access to feedback. She does not know. Are you dating someone? Are you thinking about her? Are you relieved? Are you struggling? Uncertainty creates mental noise. And mental noise turns into curiosity. Curiosity turns into emotional recall. Emotional recall turns into missing you. But understand this clearly. She does not miss you the way you missed her in the beginning. Men miss presence. Women miss impact. She begins to remember. The way you stayed calm during conflict. The way you didn't compete for attention. The way you walked away without drama. Silence reframes memory. Now you are no longer the guy who tried. You are the man who left. And those are very different images. The late night realization. There is a specific moment that often happens. It's usually late. She scrolls. She pauses. She searches your name. She sees nothing new. And for the first time, the thought lands fully. He might never text me again. This is not panic. It is gravity. Gravity feels heavy. Because permanence is heavy. Temporary silence is easy to dismiss. Permanent absence is different. Permanent absence forces reflection. Did she take you for granted? Did she assume you would always stay? Did she mistake your patience for weakness? This is when emotional roles begin to reverse. Not because you engineered it. But because reality replaced assumption. Stoic detachment versus emotional withdrawal. I need you to understand something critical. There is a difference between emotionally shutting down and consciously detaching. Emotionally shutting down comes from pain. Conscious detachment comes from clarity. A Stoic man does not disappear to punish. He disappears because he accepts. He accepts that love cannot be forced. He accepts that attention cannot be negotiated. He accepts that respect cannot be begged for. And acceptance creates stillness. Stillness is rare. In a world of constant chasing, stillness is magnetic. When she senses that your silence is not a tactic. That you are genuinely rebuilding your life without her. That is when the realization deepens. You are not waiting. You are moving. The subtle signs she starts to feel it. She might indirectly ask mutual friends about you. Post something nostalgic. Change her tone online. Suddenly view your stories quickly if you post again. These are not always attempts to reconnect. Sometimes they are temperature checks. She is measuring your energy. Is he cold? Is he indifferent? Is he still emotionally open? And here is where discipline matters most. If you break character now. If you suddenly become overly available. The mystique collapses. Not because you are playing a game. But because consistency builds narrative. And you have now built the narrative of a man who can walk away. The dangerous stage, when she begins to respect you again. Respect often returns before affection does. And respect is more powerful. When she sees that you did not beg. That you did not argue. That you did not try to convince her of your value. Something shifts internally. You demonstrated strength without aggression. That is rare. Most men try to prove their value loudly. Stoic men prove it quietly. And quiet strength lingers in the mind. She may not call immediately. She may not confess regret. But she will feel something undeniable. You are not emotionally dependent on her validation. And that changes the entire dynamic. Because attraction fades when neediness rises. But attraction often reawakens when independence is undeniable. The hard truth. Let me ground you again. Not every woman will return. Some will accept the silence and move forward permanently. But here is what always happens. They remember the man who walked away with composure. Composure creates imprint. Drama fades. Begging is forgotten. But dignified exit? That lingers. And more importantly, you begin to transform. You sleep better. You focus sharper. You realize how much emotional energy you were investing. And slowly, her validation stops being your emotional oxygen. That is freedom. And freedom changes your posture, your voice, your decisions. Even if she never reaches out again, you are no longer the man who fears being left. You are the man who can leave. Part 3, when she reaches for you, and feels the distance. There is a moment, subtle, almost invisible, when the silence stops being theoretical for her. It becomes emotional. This is the stage most men fantasize about. The notification. The unexpected message. The late night, hey. But what they don't understand is this. By the time she reaches out, the real test is no longer hers. It's yours. The internal battle before she texts. Women rarely act on impulse when it comes to pride. Before she sends that message, there is hesitation. She types. She deletes. She types again. Her mind runs scenarios. What if he ignores me? What if he moved on? What if he doesn't care anymore? Understand something important. The same uncertainty that once tortured you is now sitting in her chest. Silence redistributed the emotional weight. Not because you intended revenge, but because emotional consistency exposed reality. When a man stops reaching, he forces clarity. And clarity can be uncomfortable. The message that tests everything. It may come in different forms. Hey, stranger. How have you been? I had a dream about you. Just checking in. On the surface, casual. Underneath, vulnerable. This is not always about love. Sometimes it's curiosity. Sometimes it's nostalgia. Sometimes it's ego searching for reassurance. But occasionally, and this is rare, it's regret. The mistake most men make. They respond emotionally instead of intentionally. Weeks of discipline collapse into paragraphs. They over-explain their growth. They confess how hard it was. They ask questions too quickly. And without realizing it, they shift back into pursuit. Stoic love does not suppress emotion. It regulates it. You can care. You can feel warmth. But you do not abandon composure. The power of measured energy. When you respond calmly, something extraordinary happens. You mirror stability. Short. Grounded. Present. Not cold. Not bitter. Not overly excited. Just centered. This creates a new emotional frame. She expected one of two versions of you. The wounded man who is still waiting. The angry man who is still resentful. When you present neither, you become unpredictable again. Unpredictability reopens attraction. But here is the deeper layer. Your calmness signals that you survived her absence. And survival without her rewrites your value. The energy check. After the first exchange, she will test the emotional temperature. She may take longer to reply. Mention another guy casually. Bring up the past. Apologize indirectly. These are probes. Not malicious, human. She wants to see if you are still emotionally reactive. If jealousy surfaces quickly, she regains control. If you defend yourself excessively, she regains control. If you seek reassurance, she regains control. But if you remain composed, she begins to feel something unexpected. You are not orbiting her anymore. And orbiting is what kills polarity. The Stoic principle of inner independence. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are scarcity-driven, don't lose her again. This is my only chance. I have to say the perfect thing. Your energy will reflect anxiety. But if your thoughts are grounded in abundance, if it works, good. If it doesn't, I'll still grow. I will not chase what doesn't choose me. Your energy will reflect stability. And stability is rare. Most men react to female attention like a drought victim reacts to rain. A Stoic man appreciates the rain, but does not depend on it to survive. That difference is felt. Not logically. Emotionally. When attraction either reignites, or dies. There comes a specific interaction where the path splits. Maybe she suggests meeting. Maybe she reminisces about a memory. Maybe she says, I miss talking to you. Now your internal world determines everything. If you secretly held on to her as your only option, you will lean in too quickly. If you truly detached, you will move slowly. Not out of strategy. Out of alignment. You are no longer trying to reclaim something. You are evaluating whether it still aligns with who you've become. That shift is powerful. Because now she feels evaluated. And people value what they might lose. The calm that changes her perception. Let's say you meet again. Your posture is different. Your speech is slower. You listen more than you talk. You do not try to impress. She senses the change. And here is the truth. Women are deeply sensitive to emotional evolution. If you are the same man, just quieter, she will feel it. If you are a different man, grounded, disciplined, less attached, she will feel that too. Silence without growth is manipulation. Silence with growth is transformation. Only transformation sustains attraction. The possibility she pulls away again. This is where many men fear relapse. What if she leaves again? Good. Let that question surface. Because now your answer is different. If she leaves again, you will not collapse. You have already survived the first silence. You rebuilt yourself once. You can do it again. And when you genuinely know that, something shifts permanently inside you. Fear loses authority. Without fear, your energy becomes clean. Clean energy is magnetic. Not because it forces attraction, but because it removes desperation. The deeper realization. Here is what most men never see. Sometimes she reaches out not to reconcile, but to confirm she still has access. If she senses that access is limited, her respect grows. If she senses that access is unlimited, her urgency fades. The Stoic man understands access is earned. He is kind, but not available on demand. He is warm, but not emotionally dependent. He is open, but not attached to outcome. This is not coldness. It is sovereignty. When you no longer fear losing her. There is a quiet moment during this phase where you notice something inside yourself. You are not checking your phone constantly anymore. You are not rereading her messages obsessively. You are not calculating every reply. You respond, and then you live your life. That is the real victory. Whether she stays or goes becomes secondary. Because you have reclaimed your center. And when a man stands in his center, something paradoxical happens. He becomes attractive not because he wants someone, but because he does not need them. Love is a great lesson in maturity. It challenges us with fragility, teaches us patience through waiting, and gives us strength after being hurt. Here, I don't just tell stories for you to listen to, but for you to reflect on yourself and find your own lessons. If you find it valuable, please click like and subscribe, so you don't miss out on the shares that can change the way you look at love. Now, get ready with me, because the rest will have a lot more depth waiting for you. Part 4, the moment she feels you've truly moved on. There is a stage beyond curiosity. Beyond ego. Beyond casual check-ins. It is the moment she senses, not guesses, not fears, but knows. You are no longer emotionally hers. This is not about you dating someone new publicly. Not about posting cryptic quotes. Not about trying to provoke jealousy. This realization does not come from noise. It comes from your energy. When your absence feels permanent. Earlier, your silence created uncertainty. Now, your growth creates finality. She sees it in small things. Your tone is lighter. Your conversations are shorter. You are not fishing for validation. You are not circling old memories. And most importantly, you are not emotionally reaching. When a woman senses she no longer occupies emotional space in you, something primal shifts. Humans don't crave what is available. They crave what feels lost. Not temporarily distant. Lost. That word carries weight. Temporary absence invites patience. Permanent absence invites urgency. The emotional reversal. Let me tell you something most men never witness because they break discipline too early. The day she feels replaceable. This does not mean you replaced her. It means she realizes you can. That realization hits deeply. When you were pursuing her, she felt chosen. When you stopped pursuing her, she felt uncertain. But when she sees you thriving without her, she feels optional. And no one likes feeling optional. This is not cruelty. It is human nature. In Stoicism, we are taught to detach from outcomes. But most people are deeply attached to being significant in someone else's life. When she feels her significance fading, reflection begins. The quiet comparison. She may begin comparing you to others. Not consciously at first. Just small observations. The way you handled conflict calmly. The way you didn't compete for attention. The way you left without slander or drama. Other men may be louder. More expressive. More aggressive in pursuit. But calm confidence lingers in memory. The longer you remain stable, the more your image becomes refined in her mind. Time edits out your flaws. Composure magnifies your strengths. And suddenly, the man she once felt certain about losing, becomes the man she's unsure she can get back. The shift from control to vulnerability. Earlier, she may have felt emotionally in control. Now, she feels exposed. Because you are no longer reacting. Reaction gives people leverage. Non-reaction removes it. If she posts something provocative and you don't respond. If she delays replying and you don't chase. If she withdraws and you don't pursue. Her strategies lose impact. Again, not manipulation. Just equilibrium. You are no longer feeding the dynamic. And without fuel, dynamics collapse. This is where vulnerability emerges. She may begin reaching out more consistently. She may initiate deeper conversations. She may even subtly admit she didn't expect you to walk away so fully. But here is the dangerous part. This is where many men become arrogant. They feel the power shift. They sense the reversal. And ego takes over. That destroys everything. Stoic strength is quiet. A stoic man does not weaponize indifference. He does not gloat internally. He does not punish her emotionally. He simply remains centered. Because the silence was never about dominance. It was about alignment. If she reaches out sincerely, he listens. If she expresses vulnerability, he stays grounded. If she hesitates again, he does not collapse. This balance is rare. And rarity sustains attraction more than intensity ever could. The truth about desire. Desire grows in space. When you were constantly present, she had no room to feel your absence. Now there is space. And space amplifies value. But here is what most men misunderstand. Space only works if the man fills it with growth. If you disappear but remain stagnant, nothing changes. If you disappear and evolve, physically, mentally, emotionally, your presence feels different when it returns. Even through a simple message. Energy carries evolution. You cannot fake that. When she tests the door. At this stage, she may do something direct. Do you still think about us? Are you seeing someone? Why did you never reach out? These are not casual questions. They are emotional temperature checks. She is measuring. Is there still access? Is there still attachment? Is there still leverage? Your answer should not be strategic. It should be honest, but restrained. Yes, I cared. Yes, I've grown. No, I don't chase what doesn't choose me. Calm. Clear. Complete. Over-explaining reopens pursued energy. Under-expressing creates coldness. Balanced clarity builds respect. The moment it clicks for her. There is a very specific emotional moment. You won't see it. You may not even feel it. But it happens. She realizes. If I want him in my life, I have to step toward him. And that realization is powerful. Because earlier, she assumed you would always step first. Now the responsibility feels shared. Or even reversed. This is where authentic reconciliation can begin. Not from chasing. Not from guilt. But from mutual recognition. However. And this is critical. You must be willing to walk away again if alignment is absent. Because once you reclaim your center, you cannot surrender it. Not for chemistry. Not for nostalgia. Not for potential. When you truly let go. Ironically, the strongest attraction often appears when you are no longer trying to attract. When you are prepared for either outcome. When your happiness does not hinge on her decision. That neutrality is powerful. It is not coldness. It is emotional maturity. And maturity is deeply attractive to women who value stability. If she returns sincerely, you build slowly. If she hesitates again, you release gently. No drama. No ultimatums. Just clarity. The real victory. Let me tell you something important. The real victory is not her coming back. The real victory is this. You are no longer afraid of losing her. That fear used to control your tone, your decisions, your self-worth. Now it doesn't. You have already faced the worst-case scenario. You survived it. You rebuilt. And survival without bitterness creates strength. Strength without aggression creates magnetism. Part 5, Whether she returns or not. The man you become. This is the final stage. Not the stage where she texts. Not the stage where she misses you. Not even the stage where she realizes your value. This is the stage where you realize yours. Because whether she comes back or disappears forever, there is one truth that remains. The silence changed you. And that is the real story. If she comes back. Let's speak about the version most men secretly hope for. She reaches out sincerely. Not casually. Not testing. Not fishing for ego reassurance. Sincerely. She admits she didn't expect you to walk away. She tells you she felt your absence. She confesses she thought you would chase. And now she sees you differently. If this happens, understand something. She is not returning to the man who begged. She is returning to the man who stood still. If you accept her back, it must be from strength, not relief. Relief is dangerous. Relief says, thank God I didn't lose her. Strength says, let's see if this aligns now. The difference is subtle but powerful. Stoic love does not romanticize reunion. It evaluates it. Ask yourself quietly. Has she grown? Have I grown? Are we choosing each other, or just avoiding loneliness? A man who walked away once must be capable of walking away again. Not as a threat. As a boundary. If she senses that you are still capable of leaving peacefully, respect deepens. Because permanence without freedom feels like a trap. But permanence with freedom feels like choice. And choice is where healthy love lives. If she doesn't come back. Now let's speak about the outcome many men fear. She never texts. She never checks in. She moves forward. Perhaps you see her with someone else. This is where true stoicism is tested. It is easy to appear strong when she returns. It is harder to remain composed when she doesn't. But here is what you must understand. Her absence does not invalidate your value. It clarifies compatibility. Not every connection is meant to continue. Some relationships exist to teach you discipline. Some exist to teach you detachment. Some exist to show you how deeply you can feel, and how strongly you can recover. You did not lose her. You experienced her. And experiences shape men. Loss refines them. The shift from attachment to abundance. In the beginning, your world may have revolved around her. Her replies. Her moods. Her availability. Now your world is larger. You rebuilt routines. You sharpened focus. You strengthened your body. You strengthened your mind. You proved to yourself that you can endure emotional withdrawal without collapsing. That knowledge changes posture. It changes voice. It changes how you walk into rooms. When you no longer fear abandonment, you stop negotiating your standards. And when you stop negotiating your standards, the quality of people around you rises. Abundance is not about having many options. It is about knowing you will be fine even with none. That energy is rare. Rare energy attracts quality. The final psychological truth. Let me tell you something most men don't realize until years later. Women remember the man who walked away with dignity. Even if they marry someone else. Even if they build a new life. Somewhere in memory, there is a quiet respect. Because emotional stability is unforgettable. Drama fades. Intensity fades. But grounded masculinity lingers. You do not need to prove your worth loudly. You prove it by refusing to beg for acknowledgement. That imprint lasts. The inner freedom. There is a moment, weeks or months later, when you wake up and realize. You haven't thought about her first thing in the morning. You haven't checked her profile in days. You haven't replayed old conversations. That is freedom. Not indifference. Freedom. You can remember her without emotional collapse. You can wish her well without resentment. You can move forward without unfinished energy. That is maturity. And maturity in love is rare. The Stoic definition of winning. Most men think winning means. She comes back. She apologizes. She regrets losing you. That is ego's definition. Stoicism offers another. Winning is self-mastery. Winning is emotional control when chaos invites reaction. Winning is walking away without slander. Winning is loving deeply, but not clinging desperately. If she returns, you meet her as an equal. If she doesn't, you continue building. Either way, you are not reduced. You are refined. The man who can walk away. There is a quiet power in a man who can say, "I wanted you. But I do not need you." That sentence is not cold. It is clean. Neediness suffocates attraction. Choice strengthens it. When you operate from choice, everything changes. You speak slower. You decide carefully. You invest intentionally. You no longer chase intensity. You seek alignment. And alignment feels calmer than obsession. The last lesson. The moment she realized you would never contact her again, that moment carried weight. But the deeper moment was this. The moment you realized you didn't have to. That realization is the foundation of mature love. You are capable of connection. You are capable of devotion. But you are also capable of detachment. And a man who holds both is powerful. Not because he dominates, but because he is sovereign. Closing words. Whether she returns or not, remember this. You did not use silence as manipulation. You used it as transformation. You chose dignity over desperation. You chose discipline over impulse. You chose growth over ego. And that choice reshaped you. One day, you will meet someone who does not test your silence. Someone who meets your steadiness with steadiness. Someone who values the man you became during the quiet. Until then, remain centered. Love fully. Detach cleanly. Walk away peacefully. Because in Stoic love, the greatest strength is not making someone stay. It is knowing you are whole, even when they leave. Conclusion. There is a moment in every story like this where the noise fades, the emotions settle, and only truth remains. The truth is not about whether she comes back. It is not about who texts first. It is not even about who wins. It is about who grows. When you made the decision to never contact her again, you were not choosing pride, you were choosing peace. You were choosing to step out of the cycle of uncertainty, out of the need for reassurance, out of the habit of chasing clarity from someone who was unsure. And in that silence, something powerful happened. You met yourself. You faced the discomfort of absence without numbing it with messages. You resisted the urge to soothe anxiety with temporary connection. You learned that longing does not kill you, lack of self-respect does. The moment she realized you would never reach out again may have shaken her. But the moment you realized you didn't need to reach out, that transformed you. That is the essence of Stoic love. To care deeply, yet remain sovereign. To feel fully, yet stand firmly. To walk away not in anger, but in alignment. If she returns, she meets a stronger version of you. If she doesn't, she becomes part of the story that built you. Either way, you do not lose. Because the greatest power in love is not holding on. It is knowing you can let go, and still remain whole. So today's video has ended. Thank you for taking the time to watch it all. I hope you have learned valuable lessons and these shares will help you on your love journey. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive more interesting content in the future. I'm very grateful for your support and see you again in the next videos. Wishing you all love and happiness.